All of us have the ability to shape the future of our society through the technology decisions that we make and that our society makes.
Welcome to Nano Matters, the podcast that explores examples of nanotechnology. I'm Lisa Friedersdorf, Director of the National Nanotechnology Coordination Office. Here with me today is Jamey Wetmore, Associate Professor in the School for the Future of Innovation in Society and Co-Director of the Center for Engagement and Training in Science and Society at Arizona State University. He works to develop ways for scientists, policymakers, and others to think about the future of technology and society. So, Jamey, why is it important to have so many different perspectives involved in nanotechnology research?
Thanks for starting with the question, I think, which defines the importance of nanotechnology almost. So I think the people who work in nanotechnology, we're all trying to solve problems. We see things in the world that we think could be better, and we want to make them better. And I think what we've realized over time is that there is no one single discipline that's going to solve this world's problems. It's going to take a lot of people from all over the place working together, sharing their knowledge to help us to actually have the innovation we need to solve these problems. And I come at it from a slightly different view of a lot of people because I'm sort of trained more as a social scientist. I have a little bit of technical background. But what I really focus in is how do we think about the ways in which technology and people interact? There's not too many of us that work in nanotechnology doing that kind of work, but I think more and more people in nanotechnology are realizing the importance of bringing in a wide variety of perspectives, not just different science and engineering perspectives, but social science and even humanities perspectives to really begin to think about the big picture in ways that we can solve those problems.
So from your perspective, does technology drive society, or is it the other way around?
Actually, I was going to say I teach entire classes on this, but I guess I've written entire books on this. I think it depends on your perspective. So I am of the camp that says from the very, very beginning, it is human decisions that drive everything. I'm not comfortable with the idea that machines are the ones telling human beings what to do. And I do think that anybody can be involved in shaping the future of technology through their decisions. But I do also believe that there are a small group of people and a small group of organizations that have a profound impact on the technologies we end up with. And so their decisions can have a significant impact on the direction of society. And if you're a sort of an average member of the public, and actually even scientists and engineers I've talked to feel this way, they sort of feel like they don't have any control or say in technology. And as a result, it feels like technology is driving their decisions in ways that maybe aren't always comfortable with. But I do work, a big part of my research and my engagement work is to try to help people realize that they have a say in technology. And if they don't use that power, then technology will have the say over their lives. But that there are ways to reassert our individual control of technology and push it in the directions that we want to see it go.
So how can scientists ensure that nanotechnology and nano-enabled products are having a beneficial impact on society?
The number one thing is thinking about the potential impacts as early as possible in the process, following up after the technology is quote-unquote complete. Technology is constantly evolving, which is why sometimes scientists and engineers feel a little powerless, but if you are one of the original creators or have a hand in building it from the beginning, that usually gives you some street cred later to be able to talk about ways in which it should or shouldn't be used. If somebody creates something that they think perhaps would benefit from some regulation to make sure that the benefits are maximized and the risks are limited, then engaging with government regulatory agencies, engaging with corporations and the regulations that they create can have a really, really big impact on actually what the technology ultimately does.
So I want to switch gears just a little bit and ask you about your engagement with students. Could you share a little bit about the importance of raising awareness among students, some of the issues that you address?
Interesting, actually. I don't think I raise awareness of issues with students. I think I give them the chance to explore the awareness they already have. So what I find is a lot of scientists and engineering graduate students got into the field because they wanted to make the world a better place. And I think that as they get deep into their studies, they're so focused on the minutia of lab work, they're so focused on getting the right funding streams, that some of the questions that originally brought them to science and engineering get lost. The reward structure isn't necessarily set up for scientists and engineers to really dive into issues of things like responsible development. But their hunger for it, I mean, they're people, they're not just scientists, they're not just their training, they have questions that their training isn't answered. And so a lot of what I do is simply provide forums or discussions where the students get to ask the questions that they've always wanted to ask but have never been able to. And so one of the big projects that I lead every year is a project called Science Outside the Lab that we've run through Arizona State University for actually about 20 years now. But I lead a group focused on nanotechnology every summer. And I don't do too much training of those students. What I train them in is how to ask good questions. And then I try to get the right people in the room that they can ask the questions of. And so you get, for instance, every year we go to the EPA to talk to the people who do nanotechnology regulation. And the students get to ask the questions, well, how do you deal with the fact, just as an example question, how do you deal with the fact that you're getting a lot of your information from the people who want to profit off of the technology? And, those are the really tough political questions that have to be answered in order to make nanotechnology solve the problems that we're hoping it will solve. And giving the students the chance to really dive in and explore those questions, I think has a profound impact on them and what they do with their future careers.
So Jamey, thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing your perspective on nanotechnology and society. Do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
So I do want to come back to one thing I said earlier, which is all of us have the ability to shape the future of our society through the technology decisions that we make and that our society makes, that the government makes, that companies make. But as soon as we just sort of resign ourselves to this idea that, well, technology is going to happen, I guess I better deal with it, then all the values we have could just get squashed. So one thing I just hammer home over and over again is think about your values. Think about what you want this world to be. Realize that science and technology is going to have a profound impact on that world. And then use your voice. Sometimes it's as simple as buying products that you think reflect the values it have, but it can also involve talking to a scientist, talking to an engineer, talking to a politician, talking to a career government official who's been fighting the good fight in ways that you can't see, but if they hear your voice, they might be able to help you with your projects. Just a reminder that technology doesn't just happen, it's us that create it, and be part of the us.